I've spent the last few days absolutely destroying my sleep schedule, breaking down every major FNAF 2 movie theory, from the puppet to Michael possibly being Enard to my own cursed inverted Vanny idea. And tonight, I'm basically handing you the map to the whole rabbit hole. Spoiler warning, this video is only for people who have already seen the FNAF 2 movie. I'm about to talk openly about late movie twists, post-credits reveals, and who is secretly dead inside whose skin. If you haven't seen the film yet, bookmark this, go watch it, and come back when the credits stop vibrating in your skull. Hey guys, Lorekeeper here. If you're here, I'm assuming you've just crawled out of the theater, stared at the ceiling for a few hours, and gone, okay, but what did I just watch? This video is your after the movie lore guide. Not a recap, not a review. This is me saying, here's every big theory we've dropped on the channel this week, what each one covers, and the order you should binge them in if you want the FNAF 2 movie to actually make sense.
The FNAF 2 movie just broke canon, so we need to talk about the lore nuke Blumhouse just dropped on a decade of theories. For 10 years, the FNAF community has treated one idea as basically gospel. Mike Schmidt is just a fake name. You are actually playing as Michael Afton. It was the foundation of so many timeline videos, essays, fanfics, the whole we are the sun-seeking redemption thing. And then the movie looked us dead in the eyes and said, no, he's not. The film doesn't just hint that Mike Schmidt and Michael Afton are different people. It confirms it. It puts them both on screen, side by side in the same story, and then weaponizes that separation to completely rewrite the Afton family dynamic. Mike Schmidt, the survivor, the protective big brother who risks everything to save Abby. Michael Afton, the heir, a loyal disciple who leads an entire camera crew to their deaths in Daddy's murder maze. The eldest son archetype from the games has been split in half. And if I'm right, that split is setting up a future where the final boss of this trilogy isn't just William Afton, it's his devoted son. Let's rip this band-aid off. A decade of Mike equals Michael, what the games taught us. Before we get into what the movie did, we need to remember where we came from. In the games, the fandom stitched together a mountain of little details. The FNAF 1 Night Guard is named Mike Schmidt on the paycheck. FNAFSL straight up gives us Michael Afton, a walking corpse on a redemption tour. The custom night dialogue, the I will put you back together line, the purple guy connections, all of it started to feel like one long continuous arc. The working theory became, Mike Schmidt is a cover name. The security guards are aliases. You are always Michael Afton, working off your father's sins by surviving these locations and setting spirits free. It made sense. Security guard equals self-imposed punishment. Endings where you get fired equals moving to the next nightmarish job. The whole story plays like a private hell for the son of the killer. Over time, Mike equals Michael went from theory to assumption. Every new piece of media, the first question was always, okay, but how is this secretly Michael Afton? And then the first FNAF movie dropped. Movie 1, the soft setup. Mike as the remix Michael. In the first movie, Mike Schmidt already felt like a Michael Afton remix. He's the older brother haunted by a younger sibling's death, Garrett. He's obsessive, guilt-ridden, stuck in a loop he can't escape. He ends up working at the pizzeria where his brother's murderer operated, and he tries to understand and free the spirits instead of just surviving. We all went, got it, movie timeline Michael, new name, same role. Even Vanessa being Afton's daughter fit the remix method. Okay, they slid the Afton child slot over to her in some ways, but Mike is still filling that Michael-ish guilt-driven protagonist position. So we left movie 1 pretty confident that the spirit of the Mike equals Michael theory was still alive, even if the names got shuffled. And then movie 2 showed up and punted that confidence into the sun. Movie 2, the moment canon snaps. Enter the sequel. On one side, we have Mike Schmidt continuing his arc, still protecting Abby, still traumatized by Garrett, still stumbling into Fazbear conspiracies he never asked for. On the other side, we're introduced to a mysterious fixer/coordinator who arranges access to the abandoned pizzeria for a documentary/paranormal camera crew. A guy who seems way too calm about getting people inside a place tied to multiple disappearances. A character who, for the first half of the film, just reads as shady local contact, and then the movie hits us with the dossier board, the name drop or the line you can't argue with. Michael Afton, not as a twist that Mike's real last name is Afton, not as a reveal that Schmidt was an alias, but as a separate person. We literally have Mike Schmidt, Michael Afton, in the same story, in different scenes, with different goals. This is the movie turning to 10 years of theory videos and saying, you've been combining two roles. We're splitting them. Two eldest sons, survivor versus heir. To really see what Blumhouse did here, you have to zoom out and look at the archetype they're they're messing with. In the game timeline, Michael Afton is the eldest son, indirectly responsible for his younger brother's death, horrified by what his father has done, on an endless rotting road trip to make things right. He's both culprit and penitent. What the movie does is take that tangled, morally gray archetype and slice it clean down the middle. 1. Mike Schmidt, the survivor. Mike inherits the guilt and redemption side of Michael's role. He failed to protect Garrett. He keeps reliving the moment of the kidnapping in his dreams. He chooses to risk his life over and over to protect Abby, and by extension, the other kids' spirits. He has no loyalty to Afton, only horror. We watch him question himself, break down, still go back into the building because his sister is in danger. He is the eldest son as protector, the part of the archetype that says, I won't let what happened to my brother happen again. 2. Michael Afton, the heir. The new Michael Afton introduced in the movie inherits the legacy and villain side of the role. He knows exactly who his father is. He doesn't flinch at the history of the building. He brings others into the pizzeria under false pretenses. This time, a camera crew, that paranormal / documentary team, they think they're uncovering a story. He knows they're walking into a trap. We see him unlocking doors that shouldn't still work, reassuring them that this is the perfect place for their big scare, staying just outside of harm's reach until it's too late. And when the mask finally slips, he doesn't beg forgiveness. He doesn't recoil from the animatronics. He steps closer. My father showed me the way. He is the eldest son as disciple, not the rotting zombie seeking redemption we know from the games, but the smiling, breathing continuation of William's philosophy. The camera crew, a new MCI in real time. Let's talk about that camera crew because that sequence is doing a lot of narrative heavy lifting. On paper, they serve a simple purpose. New characters to throw into the meat grinder. Convenient way to tour the building with fresh eyes. Found footage angle for some cool scares. But look closer at how Michael Afton is positioned around them. He recruits them. He's the one who knows the building, who has a guy for the keys, who convinces them this is where they'll get their big break. He frames it as opportunity, not danger. He never talks about the deaths, the missing kids, or the previous owners in any meaningful detail. If he mentions it, it's as a selling point. You want it authentic, right? This place is the local legend. He disappears at the critical moments. As the toys and withered start to move, as the cameras glitch, as the lights die, he's suddenly not where he should be. He watches. We cut to him in security rooms, in shadowed hallways, observing, listening, almost studying what his father built. The point is clear. The crew thinks they're documenting ghosts. Michael is reenacting his father's favorite trick, luring people into Fazbears to die. Only this time it's adults, not kids. That matters because it tells us William's legacy isn't just children's killer. To his son, he's an ideologue, a man who discovered a way to bind souls to machines, to conquer death, to turn a restaurant into a ritual space, where Game Michael looks at that and says, this has to end. Movie Michael looks at it and says, this must continue. That is a huge divergence from canon. Here's what this does to movie 1, retroactive lore bomb. Now that we know Michael Afton exists as a separate character, a bunch of scenes from movie 1 get recontextualized. Afton's reaction to Mike Schmidt. Remember when William Afton first reads Mike's name on the employment form? He pauses. He smiles that weird, knowing smile. He says, I like that name. For a year, people read that as, see, he recognizes his own son under a fake name. With Michael now existing as an actual living child elsewhere, that line hits differently. It's not paternal recognition, it's predatory recognition. I like that name now sounds less like you're my boy and more like you're connected to something I did. We already talked in previous videos about how Garrett's abduction feels different from the other killings, more like an experiment than a simple murder. Now that we've got a separate Michael Afton, it's easier to see William isn't seeing Michael in disguise when he looks at Mike. He's seeing the brother of a special project, a victim he used to push the boundaries of what Remnant and Agony can do. The family tie is not father to son, it's mad scientist, surviving relative of a test subject. Vanessa's place between them. Vanessa, as William's daughter, is now caught between two male leads with opposite destinies. Mike Schmidt, the good man trying to fix what he didn't break. Michael Afton, the blood relative trying to finish what their father started. That sets Vanessa up as the pivot point. Who does she side with? Does she protect Mike and Abby, or enable Michael and William? Is she the bridge or the battleground? All of that only works cleanly if Mike and Michael are not the same person. Why Blumhouse did it, cleaning up a messy archetype. So why would Blumhouse take a fan favorite decade-old theory and snap it in half on screen? Because for a movie narrative, the original Michael Afton archetype is a lot to juggle in one character. Oldest son, bully / bystander. Indirectly directly responsible for the crying child's death, horrified by his father's murders, victim of those same murders, undead on a redemption quest, possibly fused with multiple spirits depending on which book/theory you read. That's incredible for game lore and YouTube deep dives. It's chaos for a clean 3-act film arc, so the writers did the smartest possible thing. They split him. Mike gets the emotional weight, the guilt over a lost sibling, the desire to protect another child, the role of POV character who discovers the horror, not creates it. Michael Afton gets the mythic weight, the blood tie to William, the willing participation in Fazbear's darkness, the trajectory toward being a future big bad. Instead of one overstuffed, morally tangled eldest son, we now have a hero we can root for without reservation, a villain in training whose very existence tells us this story doesn't end with William, which leads us to the future. William is not the final boss. The second Michael Afton shows up, the trilogy roadmap changes. Before, the assumed endgame was movie 3 equals Springtrap, burn the rabbit, free the kids, roll credits. But now, even if William Afton dies again, Springlock snapping, building burning, whatever flavor of crispy you prefer, the ideology doesn't die with him. Michael is young, mobile, unburnt, fully indoctrinated. He's learned how to lure victims, how to navigate Fazbear spaces, how to operate in the shadows while everyone's attention is on the animatronics. He is a sequel engine in human form. Imagine a third movie where William is trapped in a suit, decaying, more symbol than active mastermind. The animatronics are caught between Puppet/Charlie's push for peace and Michael's rituals to keep them bound. Mike and Abby are finally trying to walk away, and Michael steps out of the fire like, "You thought my father was the problem. He was just the beginning." That's not just horror, that's generational horror. The sins of the father don't just haunt the kids inherit them and decide what to do. Game Michael chose penance. Movie Michael is choosing power. Wrap up. So let's lay it out clean. The new FNAF movie doesn't hint or tease. It confirms Mike Schmidt and Michael Afton are separate people. A decade of Mike Sitward Michael game theory respectfully shattered. In the movie timeline, that fusion is split. Mike Schmidt, survivor, protector, guilt-driven hero. Michael Afton, heir, disciple, emerging villain. The camera crew sequence isn't just filler. It's Michael's origin as a predator, reenacting his father's methods with adult victims. Movie 1's moments, like Afton reacting to Mike's name, now read as predatory recognition, not paternal recognition. And the Afton family tree has been fundamentally rewritten so that the final problem of this trilogy might not be William's survival but Michael's. The FNAF 2 movie didn't just adapt canon, it broke it, rearranged the pieces, and built a new nightmare out of the shards. Now I want to hear from you. Are you on board with the split? Do you like Mike as a pure survivor and Michael as a pure villain? Or were you attached to the messy, tragic single arc Michael from the games? We need to talk about the puppet, because right now, after the FNAF 2 movie, the general vibe I'm seeing online is this. Yeah, Afton is bad, the toys are creepy, but the puppet, that thing is the real monster. That's the one that scared me. And you know what? That reaction is exactly what Blumhouse wanted. They framed the puppet like an apex predator. The slow push-ins on the prize corner camera, the ticking music box as a built-in anxiety timer, characters literally saying things like, "Whatever you do, don't let it out." It's marketed as the ultimate threat, the final thing you never want to see standing in the doorway. But here's my problem. If you actually step back and line this up with game lore, Charlie Emily's story, and the way the other animatronics behave in this movie, the puppet is the only ghost in that building that knows what it's doing. The Wizards attack out of rage. The toys attack out of confusion. Yellow Rabbit kills out of obsession. But the puppet, she doesn't lash out blindly, she chooses. She isn't hunting Mike, she's judging him. Today we're breaking down why the puppet is not the villain of the FNAF 2 movie, why Blumhouse is intentionally framing her that way, and how, once you put her back into the Charlie Emily context, she goes from scariest jump scare to the only reason anybody survives the night. 1. How the movie tricks you. Let's start with how the movie teaches you to fear the puppet. From the first time we see the prize corner, the film does 3 things. Camera language. Every time we cut to that corner, the camera slows down. Longer shots, tighter zooms, no dialogue, just the distant whir of the music box. Sound design. The track is diegetic and weaponized. That little lullaby from the games becomes a tension meter. Music box full equals you feel safe. Music box winding down equals equals instant dread. The movie trains you. Winding this box is survival. Character dialogue. Somebody, guard, investigator, Vanessa, whoever your version of the film uses, drops the rule. Don't let the box run out. If it stops, she comes out. Now add the imagery. Those glimpses of a long, thin hand behind the curtain. The sliver of a white mask in the darkness. The way the puppet's eyes don't glow like the others. They just stare. Everything about this is coded as monster, but that's surface level horror language. It tells us how to feel, not what is actually happening. To see what's really going on, we have to ask a simple question. If the puppet is the villain, why doesn't she behave like one? 2. Compare the killers. Wizards versus toys versus puppet. Let's line up the 3 main categories of animatronics in the movie. The withered animatronics, the old rage. The wizards, your broken Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, are the original missing children incident kids. In the film, they move erratically, aggressively, almost animalistic. They slam on doors. They go for the throat the second they see a live human. They are pure fight or flight with no off switch, no nuance. Makes sense. These are kids whose whole existence is hurt. They're not thinking, they're reacting. The toy animatronics, the confused graves. The toys are the new safety line from the marketing's perspective, facial recognition, criminal database. Here to protect your children. But as we talked about in the last video, underneath all that tech, they're the victims of the dead children incident. A second wave of murdered kids crammed into shiny casings and then slapped with an AI label. In the movie, they recognize faces wrong, misidentify threats, attack innocent people because their internal logic is completely scrambled by Agony plus programming. They feel robotic because their agency is broken. They're puppets in a different sense, pulled between code, Afton's influence, and their own trapped souls. And then there's the puppet. Now look at the puppet's behavior on screen. She doesn't roam like the others. She chooses moments. She doesn't immediately kill whoever sees her. She appears at key turning points, around Mike, around Vanessa, around the kids. Notice how often someone breaks a rule, someone lies, someone gets close to the yellow rabbit's secrets, and then the puppet shows up. That's not random. That's not AI glitch. That's intent, which brings us straight to her origin. 3. Remember who she is. Charlie Emily, the first victim. Let's bring in the game timeline for a second. In the games, the puppet is Charlie Emily, daughter of Henry Emily, Afton's partner, lured outside the restaurant, locked out, alone in the rain, killed by the man in the yellow suit, and left to die outside the safety of the building she should have been protected by. Her death is different from the others. No party, no cake, no crowd of friends, just cold isolation and abandonment. Her spirit doesn't move into a classic Freddy suit. She becomes something else entirely. The puppet. And what does the puppet do in the game mini-games? She finds the dead children. She gives them gifts. She gives them life. She is the protector, the one who refuses to let anyone die forgotten like she did. So if the movie is bringing in Charlie, and they are, between the little girl got murdered here line and the striped girl imagery, then they are also bringing in this role. The puppet is not just another ghost. She is the guardian of every other ghost in the building. You don't make that character your actual villain without breaking the entire emotional spine of the lore, so Blumhouse doesn't. Instead, they do something more interesting. They frame her like a villain, while quietly letting her stay a protector. 4. Agency versus control. Why the puppet is different. Here's the key concept that unlocks the whole movie. The puppet is the only entity in that building not under somebody else's control. The wizards are chained to their trauma. The toys are chained to their programming. Spring Bonnie / Yellow Rabbit is chained to Afton's obsession. The puppet, though, no security protocols, no performance routines, no kid-friendly voice lines. She is soul first, machine sec. That means when she approaches Mike, it's not because some AI flagged him. When she targets Vanessa, it's not because a camera sees intruder. When she goes straight for the prize corner door or the music box, she isn't malfunctioning. She is making choices. And the movie actually tells you this if you pay attention. There are moments where the puppet could kill and doesn't. There are characters she seems to terrify, but never actually touches. There are times the music box runs out, but the result isn't an instant jump scare. It's a confrontation. That fits perfectly with what Charlie would be doing, given everything she's been through. She is not trying to add more victims. She's trying to decide who deserves to walk out alive. 5. She isn't hunting Mike. She's judging him. This is where Mike Schmidt becomes really important. In the first movie, his entire arc is built on guilt over Garrett's abduction. He doesn't remember Afton's face clearly. He keeps trying to fix the past through dreams. By the time we hit FNAF 2, Mike is someone who has literally worked for Fazbear. Someone who has been physically present in their cover-ups. Someone someone who has already tried and failed to protect children. From Charlie's perspective, Mike is a walking question. Are you part of the problem? Or are you the one person in this building who might fix it? So look at her scariest encounters with him through that lens. Moments where he hides things, he chooses denial, he gets ready to walk away instead of fighting. Those are the moments she appears in the hallway, blocking his escape, reflected in the monitor when he looks away from the prize corner, standing over a child when he arrives just a second too late. That's not, I'm going to kill you once this box winds down. That's, I see you. I know what you've done and what you haven't done. Decide who you are. She tests him. Will he abandon the kids to save himself? Will he ignore the yellow rabbit warnings? Will he treat the animatronics as monsters or as victims? Every time Mike makes the right choice, the puppet's hostility stalls. Every time he repeats his old pattern of running, she tightens the screws. She's not an unthinking predator. She's a judge. 6. The yellow rabbit connection. What she's really afraid of. Now, let's talk about the yellow rabbit. Whether the film frames him explicitly as William Afton, Spring Bonnie, or some remix of the two, one thing is clear: that yellow suit is the shape of Charlie's killer. It is her primal nightmare. In the games, the puppet's entire existence is defined by Afton's sin. In the movie, that tracks anytime the yellow rabbit is near, anytime a character gets close to discovering his identity, anytime someone falls for his manipulation, the puppet reacts. Notice how she appears in proximity to key yellow rabbit scenes. She seems angrier when Afton is hunting than when Mike is. Her body language around the suit reads differently than around anyone else. More desperate, less controlled. If the toys and wizards are tied up in Afton's experiments, remnant, agony, control. The puppet is the one thing he never fully controlled. She got away from him. That makes her dangerous to him and everyone trying to protect him. So when she looks terrifying, when she storms down a hallway or bursts from the prize corner, what you're seeing is not, I am the apex predator of this pizzeria. It's, he's here. He's doing it again. Wake up. What's scarier to the audience? A monster that wants to bite your face off, or a monster that wants to drag you kicking and screaming to the truth you don't want to see? Blumhouse chooses door number 2 and then markets it like door number 1. 7. The music box reframed. Not a leash, a lifeline. The music box is probably the biggest reason people misread the puppet. Game logic. Keep the music box wound or die. Movie logic plays into that. Every time the box starts to run down, the tension ramps up. Characters treat it like a bomb timer. The assumed metaphor is clear. This is the leash holding the monster back. If the chain breaks, she gets out. But there's another way to read it that fits much better with Charlie's role. What if the music box isn't a leash for the puppet, but a lifeline for the other kids? In the games, the puppet is the one giving gifts, giving life, keeping the spirits anchored. In the movie, that music box could be a focus object, something she uses to hold all of them together, a ritual, a way to keep their agony from spilling out uncontrolled, a warning system, a sound that says the balance is failing. When the box is wound, the building is tense but stable. The animatronics behave within set rules. When the box is empty, you're not just letting the puppet out, you're letting everything she's been holding back burst. That's why the worst things in the movie tend to align with the box failing. Fights escalate, hallucinations spike, Yellow Rabbit's influence feels stronger. Blumhouse is using the box like a horror mechanic, sure, but under the hood, it's still doing what it did in the games. It marks the point where Charlie can't protect everybody anymore. 8. Why she's the reason anyone survives. Okay, so let's recap what the puppet actually does across the story once you strip the scary framing away. She responds to injustice, not just motion. She reacts specifically to the Yellow Rabbit's presence and lies. She forces Mike, Vanessa, the kids, whoever your version centers, to face truths they keep trying to avoid. She doesn't kill indiscriminately. Her attacks line up with failure, betrayal, or complicity. Now look at who's alive at the end of the movie. Ask yourself, how many times do the protagonists survive because they followed a warning that looked scary in the moment? How many times are they in the right place at the right time to see Afton's true nature? How many times do the animatronics pause, hesitate, or glitch just long enough for the humans to escape? You can hand wave that as plot armor if you want, or you can see it for what it is in the lore. The puppet doing what she always does. She is the one making sure the story gets to a point where the kids can be avenged. She is the one making sure this doesn't become just another disappeared security guard, another round of cover-up paperwork. She isn't the villain of FNAF 2. She is the conscience of the haunted pizzeria, and that conscience has a very good reason to look terrifying. To Fazbear, she's a threat. To Afton, she's an enemy. To anyone hiding the truth, she's a nightmare. But to the victims? She's the only one who ever showed up. We seriously need to talk about Michael Afton. So we need to talk about Michael Afton's skin, because everyone walked out of this movie going, wow, Michael's a monster. He's like William 2.0. And yeah, he is a monster, but I don't think he's a person. This video is built on one simple, absolutely cursed question. What if the Michael Afton we meet in the movie is already dead? What if he's a scooped corpse being puppeted by Enard? In other words, this movie doesn't just introduce Michael Afton, it introduces post-sister location Michael. The man luring the Spectral Scoopers crew to their deaths is actually an amalgam of Funtime animatronics taking his body out for its first test drive. We're going to argue that his weird, robotic lack of empathy, his calculated cruelty during the camera crew massacre, his specific recognition of Vanessa as sister, and even the name of the show, Spectral Scoopers, are all screaming the same thing. The scooping already happened. Enard is in the driver's seat, and this movie is the missing link between Sister Location and FNAF 3. Let's crack this open. Quick refresher, what the scooping is. Game timeline. Before we dive into the movie, let's remind ourselves how this works in the games. In Sister Location, Michael Afton works at Circus Baby's entertainment and rental. Deep in the facility is the scooping room, where animatronics endoskeletons and parts are literally scooped out of their casings. The twist, the scooper can be used on people too. The Funtime animatronics, Baby, Ballora, Funtime Freddy, Funtime Foxy, merge into a single entity, Enard. Enard tricks Michael, gets him into the scooping room, removes his insides, and climbs inside his skin like a suit. Baby even tells us, we had to hide. We had to look like you. From that point on, the Michael walking around on the surface is a hollowed out corpse, filled with a writhing amalgam of robotic parts and souls, held together by willpower and remnant until the body inevitably rots. In the games, that's how we eventually get to Purple Michael. So, the slowly decaying, corpse-walking version we see stumble through neighborhoods like a glitching ghost. Now hold that image in your mind and look at Movie Michael. Movie Michael's biggest red flag, he doesn't act human. Let's talk about the camera crew massacre. On paper, Michael Afton's role looks simple. He's the local contact for the Spectral Scoopers show. He gets the crew access to the abandoned pizzeria. Things go wrong. People die. Shocking. But the way he behaves is wrong for a regular human villain. Look at him. No flinching, no hesitation, no satisfaction even. Just observation. He doesn't react like someone who enjoys killing. He reacts like something running a test. He lets them split up without protest. He calmly points them down the worst possible hallways. When they scream, he doesn't rush or panic. He listens. There's this uncanny latency in his responses. Like there's a slight delay between input, the crew panicking, and output, Michael's next move. The way an AI might pause before answering. Most human villains fall into one of two camps. Outwardly emotional, rage, sadism, glee, or at least conflicted, a twitch, a flinch, a sign of guilt. Movie Michael, he has the stillness of an animatronic on low power. He moves when the scene needs him to move. That's our first big red flag, and he doesn't feel like a cold human. He feels like a program in a borrowed body. Sister, why Enard would recognize Vanessa. Now let's look at the way he talks to Vanessa. The movie goes out of its way to stage an interaction where Michael recognizes her, calls her sister, or otherwise frames her in direct familial terms. Talks about William with this weird mix of reverence and distance. On the surface, this plays as, I'm your brother, we're both Aftons. Father had plans for us. But if you bring Sister Location into the picture, that word sister hits different. Remember, Circus Baby is built around the memory of William's daughter. In the games, Baby is obsessed with that little girl. The Funtime animatronics have an intimate connection to the Afton children, especially the girls. If Enard is now driving Michael's body, then inside him are Baby's consciousness, the Funtime's programming, the collective memory of everything that happened in the underground facility. So when Michael looks at Vanessa and says sister, there are two readings. Literal, Michael Afton, child of William, acknowledging his biological sister. Layered, an amalgam of animatronics that once killed and wore an Afton child, recognizing another piece of the same bloodline. A new sister to stalk, study, maybe even recruit. The expression he wears when he does it isn't warm, it's fascinated. This is exactly how Enard would look at the last living link to the little little girl they were built around. We know you. We know your father. We know your kind. It's not brotherly love. It's predatory recognition. The smoking gun, Spectral Scoopers. Now for the most on-the-nose clue, the camera crew's show is called Spectral Scoopers. On first watch, it's just cute branding. We scoop ghosts out of haunted places. Spooky, cheesy, paranormal TV vibes. But if you're even vaguely familiar with Sister Location, your brain should be screaming, Scoopers! Scoopers! Scooping room! Scooping dead! You're telling me we have a character whose defining franchise moment is being scooped out by Enard in a movie where we never actually see that scooping, but we do see him for the first time acting like a walking corpse. And the first big sequence we meet him in involves a show called Spectral Scoopers, walking willingly into an animatronic murder maze. That's not an accident, that's a neon sign. The meta message from the filmmakers reads like this: you wanted to know when the scooping happened in this timeline. Right before this, you're watching Scooped Michael on his first assignment. The spectral part fit too. Spectral equals ghostly, spirit related. Scoopers equals the method by which those spirits are freed from their mechanical shells and shoved into flesh instead. It's a wink that doubles as a lore placement. Sister Location events, scooping. Enard takes Michael's body. Enard Michael meets the Spectral Scoopers crew. Why isn't he purple yet? The timeline fix. Okay, let's hit the biggest counter argument head on. If this is post Sister Location Enard Michael, why isn't he purple and rotten yet? In the games, we see Michael eventually turning sickly, skin collapsing, eyes sunken, body literally falling apart in public. The key word there is eventually. Sister Location never says. The moment Enard climbs inside, he looks like an extra from a zombie movie. Decomposition takes time. So here's the timeline this theory proposes. Underground facility era, Sister Location. Michael goes down, Enard forms. The scooping happens. Enard puts on Michael's body. Days or even hours later, Enard Michael is still fresh. The body is technically dead, but still looks human. No one would notice anything off from a distance besides a slightly uncanny vibe. That's when the movie introduces him. The film catches him right at the start of his corpse walking phase. Human looking enough to pass, inhuman enough to act with robotic coldness. Camera crew massacre. Enard Michael runs his first real world test. How much control do we have? How well does this body blend into a murder scenario? Science fair. Ending. Public animatronics era. Time passes. The animatronics become more public, more commercialized again. Meanwhile, Enard is stuck in a body that's starting to rot from the inside out. By the time we get to the next installment, the veins are darkening, the eyes are wrong, the skin is not keeping up. That's when we get full purple Michael. So why isn't he purple yet? Isn't a hole, it's a breadcrumb. We're catching him too early in the decay cycle to see it. The science fair ending as a bridge to Fazbear's Fright. Now let's talk about that surreal ending. The animatronics being wheeled out as projects, curiosities, science exhibits, kids poking at horror like it's a craft project. On the surface, it plays as this darkly comic epilogue. Haha, they survived, and now the world is turning their trauma into spectacle. But from a lore perspective, it's exactly how you get from abandoned murder restaurant era, Fazbear's Fright, the horror attraction. The science fair sequence is telling us Fazbear horror is becoming commodity, and people want to see the haunted robots. The brand is shifting from family restaurant to urban legend turned theme park. Now insert Enard Michael into that. You have a corpse who's starting to rot, a consciousness composed of animatronic AI and spirits, a desperate need to be near remnant, heat, and machinery to keep holding the body together. Where do you go if you look too wrong to pass in normal jobs, but you'd blend in perfectly somewhere full of props, costumes, and fake blood? You'd take the night shift at a place built to celebrate your own legend. You hide in plain sight at Fazbear's Fright. Enard Michael isn't just a villain for this movie. He's the perfect vector for transitioning into a FNAF 3 style story. The body decays, turns purple, the job market narrows, ends at a horror attraction. The animatronics burn, remnant reacts. Michael's body becomes the ultimate haunted prop. Enard's programming. Why he's so precisely cruel. One more point in favor of the Enard theory. The type of cruelty Michael shows. He doesn't chase people himself, get his hands dirty, revel in the kill. He sets up the board, places the pieces, lets robots do the work. That's not just like father like son slasher behavior. That's animatronic logic. We are the machines built to hunt. You are the flesh that gets them into position. In Sister Location, Enard's entire plan is calculated. Gain Michael's trust, learn his habits, lure him to the scooper, escape inside his body. Watching movie Michael, you can feel that same calculation. Gain the crew's trust, learn their style and fears, lure them to the killing floor, study the results. This isn't the wild improvisation of a human psychopath, it's the controlled experiment of AI that's already run one successful extraction. Enard's endgame has always been escape confinement, blend in, survive. Killing the Spectral Scoopers crew isn't just about bloodshed, it's about practicing the art of being unseen in the middle of chaos. Wrap up. So putting it all together, the Michael Afton we meet in the movie acts nothing like a normal human villain. His effect is off, his timing is mechanical, and his empathy is non-existent. His creepy recognition of Vanessa as sister makes more sense if he's full of funtime / Enard memory, not just big brother feelings. The name of the show, Spectral Scoopers, is a massive meta hint that the scooping has already happened before we meet him. The lack of purple skin isn't a contradiction, it's a timeline clue. We're seeing Inard Michael in the early post-scooping stage, before the body decays. The science fair ending and public animatronics setup tee him up perfectly to drift into the only place a rotting corpse can hide in plain sight, the night shift at a FNAF 3-style Fazbear's Fright horror attraction. Movie Michael isn't just William's heir, he's Enard's first successful cosplay. But that's my read. Tracing wires from the scooping room straight into the projector light. Now I want to hear from you. Do you buy that Movie Michael is already scooped and piloted by Enard? Or do you think he's just a human monster and the scooping will be shown later? FNAF 2 Movie Circus Baby is already possessed. If Michael is dead, why did he call Vanessa sister? Movie Michael is not human. He's already been scooped. He's a corpse being piloted by Enard. That theory framed the camera crew massacre, the Spectral Scoopers name, and Michael's robotic lack of empathy as evidence that the Funtime amalgam is running the show from inside his skin. Today, we're taking the next logical horrible step, because if Michael is Enard and Enard contains Circus Baby, then we need to talk about what's living behind her eyes in this timeline, specifically Vanessa's nightmare, the one smoking gun the movie quietly drops and then never explains. Circus Baby has green eyes. That one visual detail basically confirms that. Circus Baby is already possessed by the third Afton sibling, Elizabeth. Her death happened before the events of the film, and the thing standing in front of Vanessa when Michael says, "Hello, sister," is literally a walking mass grave wearing both of her dead siblings at once. Let's unwind this. Step 1, picking up from Michael is Enard. Quick recap so we're all on the same night shift. Our previous theory, Movie Michael Afton is post-scooping. He's not a regular human villain. He's Enard wearing Michael's body like a suit. The camera crew's show, Spectral Scoopers, is a meta hint at the scooping room. His cold, delayed reactions and zero empathy read as animatronic logic, not human malice. The key part for this video, Enard is not one character. Enard is an amalgam. In the game lore, Enard is Circus Baby, Ballora, Funtime Freddy, Funtime Foxy, ripped apart and reassembled into one nightmare creature, which means if Movie Michael equals Enard, then Movie Michael's body equals a mobile home for Circus Baby. And if Circus Baby is already possessed by Elizabeth Afton, then the thing wearing Michael's skin is carrying 2 dead Afton children inside it. Now you might say, okay, but how do we know Baby is actually possessed in the movie timeline? That's where Vanessa's nightmare kicks the door in. Step 2, Vanessa's nightmare, the green-eyed smoking gun. The scene on its own is already unsettling. Vanessa asleep, drenched in sweat, the walls closing in with that suffocating funhouse lighting, Circus Baby looming over her in a warped half-dream version of the pizzeria. But it's one design choice that matters more than anything. Circus Baby's eyes are green, not blank, not generic robot blue, not glowing white, green. In FNAF, eye color is not just an aesthetic, it's a code. Different possessed animatronics get different eyes. Eyes change color when different spirits are in control. Elizabeth Afton in the games is consistently associated with green eyes and with Baby. The movie didn't have to do that. If this was just generic scary clown animatronic, they could have made her eyes white, given her pure black voids, used red pupils for cheap evil. Instead, they chose a very specific, very lore-loaded color, and then they buried that detail in a nightmare sequence that only Vanessa sees. That tells us 2 things. The movie is deliberately connecting Circus Baby to a particular consciousness. She's not just an empty shell. Vanessa's dreams are tuned to that consciousness. Whatever's inside Baby is reaching her. And if you're following the Afton family remix the movies have been building, there is one obvious candidate, Elizabeth Afton, the missing third sibling we haven't met on screen because she's already dead. Step 3, Elizabeth is already dead before the movie starts. We already know in this movie timeline, William Afton Afton is an active serial killer. Vanessa is his daughter, pulled into his orbit. Michael is his son, now acting as his heir, disciple. There's a family history of accidents and disappearances around children. The games tell us Elizabeth's story. She gets too close to Circus Baby. Baby's built-in capture claw activates. Elizabeth is killed and pulled inside the animatronic. Her spirit fuses with Baby, controlling the animatronic from within. Now port that to the movie timeline. The Vanessa nightmare is our big clue that Circus Baby is not just something Vanessa has seen. Circus Baby is something Vanessa's connected to. Her mind gives Baby green eyes, the exact color tied to Elizabeth in the games. You don't do that unless Elizabeth already died. Her spirit is already in Baby. Vanessa's subconscious is brushing up against the same haunting that created Enard later. In other words, by the time our story starts, William Afton has already lost one child, Elizabeth, to Circus Baby. He's already built the Funtime line and messed with scooping tech. The events of Sister Location, the abductions, the experiments, the possession have effectively already happened off screen. That's why Circus Baby in Vanessa's dream looks less like a mascot and more like a predator that knows her name. Step 4. If Baby is possessed, Enard is a family reunion. Now connect the dots. Circus Baby is possessed by Elizabeth Afton, confirmed by the green eyes in Vanessa's nightmare. Enard is an amalgam of the Funtime animatronics, including Baby. Enard inherits Baby's memories, obsessions, and voice. Michael Afton in the movie is Enard wearing his body. He's a scooped corpse being piloted by that amalgam. So when Michael walks into a room, you are not looking at one person. You are looking at the body of William's son, Michael, the mind of the Funtime Collective, and the soul of Elizabeth Afton riding shotgun inside that mess of wires. Which brings us to the single creepiest line in the movie. Hello, sister. Step 5. Hello, sister. The worst double entendre in the franchise. On the surface, hello, sister is simple. Michael Afton greeting Vanessa. Biological brother meeting biological sister. A cold, off-putting way to acknowledge their shared bloodline. But if we accept Baby is already possessed by Elizabeth, Enard contains Baby, Michael is Enard, then that line becomes a double voice. Who's actually speaking? On one level, Michael, the living-ish son of William, acknowledging Vanessa. On another level, the spirit of Elizabeth, embedded inside Enard, finally standing in front of the only Afton child who made it out alive. Hello, sister becomes hello, my father's daughter, and hello, the girl who got the life I didn't. That's why the delivery feels so wrong. It's not just awkward, it feels layered. His mouth moves once, but the intent behind the words doesn't feel singular. The camera lingers like it's inviting you to sit in that discomfort. Imagine being Vanessa in that moment. You think you're looking at one brother. You are actually standing in front of the corpse of one sibling, possessed by an amalgam of murdered robots, within which your dead sister's soul is peering out through your brother's eyes. And the first thing it says to you is, hello, sister. That's not just a greeting, that's contact. Step 6. Vanessa's nightmares aren't just fear, they're contact. Revisit Vanessa's nightmares with this in mind. We originally read them as PTSD, leftover fear from growing up Afton, her brain processing what her father did. But if Baby is already possessed by Elizabeth, those nightmares can also be Elizabeth trying to reach her. Circus Baby's consciousness brushing against Vanessa's during REM, a prelude to the moment when Enard Michael shows up in person. Notice the pattern. Nightmare Baby's eyes are green, Elizabeth's color. The framing often isolates Vanessa as small, childlike in those dreams. The sense isn't just monster chasing victim, it's familiar predator studying prey. It's like Elizabeth is, testing the connection, seeing how far she can push without shattering Vanessa, getting ready for that eventual face-to-face through Michael's body. By the time we get to Hello Sister, we're not seeing a first meeting, we're seeing the culmination of a haunting that's been building since Vanessa's childhood. Step 7, where this points FNAF 3. If we follow this through to a potential FNAF 3 movie, the setup is horrifyingly elegant. William Afton, trapped, burned, or reduced to Springtrap level existence. Mike / Enard, walking corpse, slowly turning purple, drawn to Fazbear's Fright. Circus Baby / Elizabeth, still inside Enard, still obsessed with family and control. Vanessa, the only living Afton with a chance to break the cycle. Fazbear's Fright becomes not just a horror attraction built on old suits, but a spiritual battleground where the puppet / Charlie fights for the lost children. The burned husk of William festers in Springtrap. Enard Michael decays in the shadows. Elizabeth's will inside Baby might either double down on the family curse or turn on William and Michael in a final final, catastrophic bid for freedom. In that context, Hello Sister stops being a creepy line and becomes a thesis statement. We are not done with the Afton family. We have one sister left, and every ghost in this franchise wants a piece of her. Wrap up. So, to pull it all together, Vanessa's Nightmare of Circus Baby isn't just a scare scene, it's the smoking gun. Circus Baby's green eyes are a deliberate signal that she's already possessed by Elizabeth Afton. That means Elizabeth's death happened before the events of the film, off screen. If movie Michael is Enard, and Enard contains Circus Baby, then Michael's body is literally a vessel for Elizabeth's spirit. When he says, "Hello sister" to Vanessa, it's a chilling double entendre. Michael greeting his living sibling and Elizabeth from inside the wire mesh of the Enard amalgam, finally speaking to the only Afton child who survived. The entity standing in front of Vanessa in that scene is her whole dead family, stacked like a Matryoshka doll of ghosts inside one rotting human shell. But that's my read. Following the trail of green eyes and scooping puns the movie keeps dropping in the background. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Circus Baby's green eyes definitely confirm Elizabeth's possession in the movie timeline? Or could it still be a stylistic choice with no lore weight? And how do you think Elizabeth's presence inside Enard Michael will affect a potential FNAF 3? FNAF 2 movie Vanessa is the new Vany. We need to talk about Vanessa and the purple eyes. Those purple glowing eyes watching from the shadows of the toy location. The ones that don't belong to any known animatronic, that blink in and out like a jump scare, only for people who frame by frame their trailers. Most people saw that and went, "Oh, that's Vanny, Glitch Trap's girl. Here we go, security breach pipeline." And yeah, it is a Vanny tease, but not the way you think, because this movie already changed one massive assumption, that Mike Schmidt is Michael Afton, and I think it's doing the same thing to Vanny. This video is about what I'm calling the inverted Vanny theory. In the games, Vanny is Glitch Trap's brainwashed follower. In the movie, those purple eyes aren't William's color of control. They're the color of agony, dark remnant burning out of Vanessa's skull because the marionette is driving, and that means movie Vanny isn't William's servant. She's Charlotte Emily's weapon. Let's break this down. The purple eyes in the toy location, the Vanny tease. First, our anchor, the visual anomaly. In the toy location sequences, we get long, slow panning shots of the hallways. The toys flickering in and out of frame, and tucked in the darkness, just off center, those glowing purple eyes. No nose, no snout, no clearly defined mask, just two sharp oval points of light at a height and angle that reads human, not animatronic. They don't match a toy Freddy / Bonnie / Chica, Mangle, Balloon Boy, or the puppet. This is a new presence. The framing makes it clear this isn't a glitch in the render, it's something or someone watching. And then in the final frame of the movie, we get the second half of the puzzle. Vanessa, eyes wide, puppet mask reflected in glass, that unmistakable implication. The marionette is inside her, so we've got purple eyes stalking the toy location. Vanessa confirmed as a puppet vessel at the end, and a franchise that loves rabbit masks and purple stalkers. Yeah, that's our Vanny, but not security breach Vanny. Vanessa is already possessed, but not by Glitch Trap. In game lore, Vanny is manipulated by Glitch Trap, the digital ghost of William Afton. She's an unwilling pawn hearing his voice, forced into the rabbit suit. The movie timeline throws that straight out. We have no Glitch Trap. William is still very much analog, a meat man in a murder suit. The only spiritual hacker in this continuity is the puppet, and the final shot of FNAF 2 outright tells us Vanessa plus marionette equals canon. So if we're seeing purple-eyed stalker shots that scream "this is your Vanny stand-in," we have to reassign the source of that control. It's not William, Glitch Trap, Vanny. It's Charlotte Emily, puppet, Vanessa, Vanny. This is why I call her inverted. Vanny, game Vanny equals Afton's leash on a good person. Movie Vanny equals puppet's leash on an Afton. Same visual archetype, masked woman, purple motif, knife in the dark energy, but the direction of power is flipped. She's not the cultist of the rabbit. She's the curse on the rabbit's bloodline. Why purple? Agony, not loyalty. Let's talk about the color. Purple in FNAF is the most overloaded hex code on Earth. Purple guy equals William Afton. Purple glitch equals Glitch Trap. Purple skin equals post-scooped Michael / Enard. So it's easy to see glowing purple eyes and say, oh, she's serving William, she's Glitch Trap coded. But the movie has already been leaning into another concept, Agony, from the Fazbear Fright's books. Agony is the pure, concentrated suffering ripped out of someone at death. It can cling to objects, machines, locations. It can fuel dark remnant, twisting tech into something worse than simple possession. Now combine that with what we know, Vanessa is Afton blood. She's a cop, a protector type, who's been forced to live with what her father did. At the end of the movie, the puppet, Charlotte Emily, the first victim, fuses with her. That is years of bottled up Afton guilt, plus the rage of the protector ghost that watched it all happen. When that kind of entity takes control of a body, it's not going to shine calming puppet white. It's gonna burn purple, not William's purple, as a flag of loyalty, but the visual language of agony overflowing out of a human vessel. Those purple eyes in the toy halls aren't a tag that says property of Afton. They're a hazard symbol for, you are looking at an Afton body forced to do Charlotte's will through dark remnant. That's our inverted Vanny, a Vanny whose purple is pain, not obedience. The fusion, Afton bloodline plus Charlotte's rage. Here's the core of the theory. Vanny in the movie timeline is not one person's evil. She's a fusion. Vanessa brings Afton DNA, access, cop badge, authority, mobility, emotional link to Mike, Abby, and the victims. The marionette slash Charlotte brings guardian instinct pushed past its breaking point, control over remnant and spirits, a personal vendetta against the entire Afton line. Together they create a dark Avenger that looks like the classic Vanny silhouette, but instead of being controlled by William, she's pointed at William's legacy. When those purple eyes blink in the toy location, they're not saying, "Yes, father, what next?" They're saying, "Where are the Aftons? I'm not done with them." And that leads us perfectly into her FNAF 3 possibilities. Possibility A, the stalker, hunter of Enard. In this version, Vanessa slash Vanny is not glitching. She's weaponized. Let's line up the facts. Michael Afton has been scooped. Enard is inside him. He's escaped into society. The animatronics stuck in shells and locations can't chase him everywhere. But the puppet inside a human cop, she can go wherever he does. So the marionette uses Vanessa as a biological hunter-killer. The purple-eyed Vanny we glimpse in FNAF 2 becomes the stalker of FNAF 3. Imagine Fazbear's Fright built from old props and burned suits, cashing in on the legend of the murders, hiring a night guard to watch over the attraction, and in the shadows, Enard Michael skulking, drawn to the heat and remnant. Springtrap slash William trapped in his rusted coffin, and out in the corridors, a rabbit-masked figure with purple eyes slipping through the fire exits. She adopts the rabbit mask not as a shrine, but as mockery, with the purple motif as a flare of agony, and I am you but corrupted statement. Her mission, hunt down Michael slash Enard, trap him inside the attraction, burn the whole place down. From the night guard's point of view, she's the phantom, the glitch on the cameras, the movement in the vents that isn't an animatronic, the figure that sabotages sprinklers and ventilation to make sure the fire sticks. In this path, Vanny is the hunter of monsters, but she's so brutal, so obsessed that she becomes one herself. Possibility B, the internal war split psyche Vanessa. The second path is darker and more tragic. What if the possession isn't stable? We already have a template in Security Breach, Vanny flickering between normal and control, moments of clarity, moments of pure puppet. Movie Vanessa could be the same, but with the stakes dialed up. In this version, the purple eyes don't just mean puppet is driving. They signal the moments when Vanessa's mind is cracking under Charlotte's rage. Two selves, good Vanessa, the cop who tried to help Mike, the sister who doesn't want to be her father, the person who wants to protect Abby and the other kids, cruel puppet, the thing inside her that remembers drowning in rain outside a locked restaurant, the judge who decided the Aftons don't deserve mercy, the will that wants to hurt forever instead of simply kill. In FNAF 3, that gives us a terrifying dynamic. Mike Schmidt, if he's still around, or a new night guard is trying to save Vanessa. Michael slash Enard is trying to escape. William slash Springtrap is trying to survive and manipulate. And Vanessa, she is both the ally in her clear moments, warning the guard about fire hazards, letting Abby go, fighting the urge to put the mask on, and the sabotage at donning the Vanny mask under Charlotte's control, locking doors at the worst possible time, shutting off ventilation, luring animatronics with security overrides. Here's the nastiest twist. Charlotte doesn't want Michael slash Enard to die quickly. As the puppet, she used to be about peace, give gifts, give life, set them free. As a dark Avenger fused with an Afton, that mission could mutate into no, you don't get release. You get eternal suffering. So Vanny becomes the physical barrier that keeps Michael alive longer. Every time fire almost reaches him, she stops it. Every time a fatal blow is imminent, she accidentally intervenes. The night guard thinks she's the threat, but really, she's keeping the real target on the hook so Charlotte can keep pulling the strings. Vanessa becomes the tragic antagonist, the one Mike tries to save. the one Abby cries over, the one we watch disappear under the rabbit mask while the purple eyes burn brighter and brighter. Why this makes Vanessa the wild card of the trilogy. Either way, Hunter or split psyche, the outcome is the same. Vanessa is no longer just Afton's good kid. She's the vessel of the most powerful ghost in the series. The last living Afton caught between two genocidal forces, her father and his first victim. The face of Vany in a world without glitch trap, a remnant-powered slasher that owes allegiance to no one. She's not a clean hero. She's not a simple villain. She's the wild card. She might burn Fazbear's Fright to save the kids. She might burn Fazbear's Fright to torture Michael longer. She might do both. And it all started with one tiny shot, two purple eyes in the dark, watching the toy location, not as William's servant, as Charlotte's weapon. Wrap up. So to recap the inverted Vany theory, the purple glowing eyes in the toy location are our first tease of a movie timeline Vany. The final frame confirms Vanessa is possessed by the marionette, not glitch trap. The purple color isn't loyalty to William, it's the visual language of agony. Dark remnant created by Charlotte riding an Afton body. Movie Vany is a dark avenger, the fusion of Afton bloodline plus Charlotte's rage. In FNAF 3, that gives us two possible Vanessas. A, the Stalker, a hunter sent to destroy Enard / Michael inside Fazbear's Fright. B, the Internal War, a split psyche where good Vanessa and cruel Puppet fight over whether the Aftons get to die or suffer forever.
Alright, that's your roadmap. Now I want to know, which theory do you want to see expanded even further going into a FNAF 3 movie? More Inard, more inverted Vany, a full breakdown of what Puppet Vanessa versus Springtrap William versus Inard Michael looks like in one burning building? Drop your answer in the comments, then hit up the playlist and pick your next rabbit hole. If this helped you make sense of the chaos that is FNAF 2, feed the algorithm some Fazbear pizza. Leave a like, subscribe to Horror Lorekeeper for more FNAF and horror deep dives, and send this video to the friend you just dragged out of the theater who's still saying, wait, who was in whose body? Thanks for watching, and remember, the movie ends when the credits roll, but the lore is just getting started.